We are back on the air live here from Studio 9 in downtown Wenatchee. A Thursday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley is now upon us. 28th day of June 2018. I am Dan Kuntz, your host. Steve Hare, my good friend and our news director to my immediate left. Kat, as always, in control, only when she's not in control, meaning she's not here. Hope you had a great Wednesday. We're back at it on Thursday. Got a busy show, big one for you today. We're going to do 4-star show for you today.
4 stars?
4 stars.
Well, why are we short 1 star?
You don't want to overpromise.
No,
you don't want to overdo.
I understand.
You know, I mean, if you set the bar really high, and we don't do that here, we try to, way down low on the bar. You're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
No, that's true.
And we don't want to disappoint our viewers. We don't want that. We don't want that to happen.
No, especially first thing in the morning.
No.
Get off on the wrong foot? No way.
No way. Grab your cup of coffee, get a piece of toast, whatever the case may be, and sit back and enjoy 1 hour of television entertainment, 1 hour of television information, courtesy of this guy, and we'll see what happens. Yesterday, Don Messick, our regional labor economist, dropped by and visited with Steve. Fascinating conversation with Don.
Crunch the numbers, boy,
Yeah.
and it looks pretty good right now here in central Washington in those 7 or 8 counties that he kind of monitors and tracks the numbers for.
But you talk specifically about the Wenatchee Metropolitan
The
Statistical
Chelan
Area.
Douglas labor
Yeah.
market area,
So.
which is really cooking right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the lowest jobless rate since records have been kept.
That's been 1990, is that right? That's
yeah.
when they started computerizing it, really. That's remarkable. Good.
So put your sunglasses on, folks. Things are looking pretty bright here in the Wenatchee Valley.
You'll need sunglasses anyway. The weather forecast looks pretty good. It's just these temperatures are just so cool for this time of the year.
This is the perfect start to summer.
But it feels like spring.
It does. It really does.
All the temperatures that you're going to see when we do the weather forecast, every one of these afternoon high temperatures are below normal. So we're in this long stretch. It's cool. It's kind of unsettled, but it hasn't really been dramatic weather. It just hasn't been very warm. That's all.
Like yesterday afternoon, we had a little breeze in the afternoon, early evening, but didn't cause any problems. I know we got a little fire that was burning up in the Manson area. We have a larger fire that's burning to the south of us down in Benton County right now, which has gone to state mob. So we'll have more details on that coming up as well. But so far, so good, you know.
Speaking of so far so good, Mariners got their 50th win of the year last night over the Baltimore Orioles. Sports is coming up. Apple Sox, huge victory last night for the Sox. They've struggled this year. They've struggled defensively. They've had a lot of walks and balks and errors. But boy, they put it all together and they gave Bend a pretty good whipping last night at Paul Thomas Senior Field. We got sports coming up, also the obscure holiday birthdays. Everyone is entitled to Mike Minotti's opinion. Today in history and kennel cameos. Kennel Cameos is the new name of Pet of the Week.
And we had a big event yesterday afternoon here in the Wenatchee Valley with the passing of the torch, the Olympic torch.
Special Olympics. The Summer Games are in Seattle this year. That reminds me, you weren't here. You didn't live here back in 1984. But in 1984, when the Olympic torch came to town on its way to Los Angeles, California.
And I saw it too.
It's one of my dad's favorite stories because they're running it across the country, so they have logistics and they have a plan and they have a schedule, but things happen. And about 5 days before Independence Day of 1984, Jim Lynch called my dad up and said, "Frank, I got good news." He said, "The torch is going to come through Wenatchee." They didn't even know until the deal. Frank, the torch is going to come right through the Wenatchee Valley on its way to Seattle. Great. And it's coming on the 4th of July. It will be here on Independence Day.
Wow.
Wow, everybody said. That's the good news. The bad news is it's 4 days away, so what are we going to do? And my dad chaired the committee, and they put together a really cool show at the Apple Bowl. They came through, they packed the Apple Bowl, they had a big patriotic celebration. They had music and they had fireworks, and the torch came and they had it up on the stage, and my dad had to put the whole thing together. He had to chair this ad hoc committee that was thrown together on June 30th for a big event on July 4th. It was one of my dad's favorite stories. And the United States Olympic Committee, as a thank you, gave my dad an Olympic flag.
Oh, really?
A real Olympic flag. And for
Didn't he
years
also
and
have
years,
the torch, too? Didn't he also have the torch?
I think they may have given like a little
Yeah, I
something
think so,
like
yeah.
that, just as a memento to thank him for putting it all together. And from that point forward, until my dad passed away, during the Olympic Games, whether it be summer or winter, he would fly the Olympic flag from the flagpole of the house.
That's cool.
It was really neat. Anyway, I just
84
thought about,
Olympics, I remember. I was working for Metro Traffic in Los Angeles at the time.
were you really?
And, yeah, we watched the torch as it passed by our studio.
The LA Games were kind of cool, but for somebody who's been to the Olympics, I got to tell you, you have to go to the Olympics in another country. That gives you an entirely different appreciation for the Olympic Games. We got to go to the Olympics in Montreal in 1976. Montreal's an international city anyway.
Yeah.
It's French. It's a French-speaking city, but it's basically the world gets together in one location. Everybody has a party. It was just neat. It was just
A lot of fun.
I'm just throwing that out there. You ready to go around the valley? We're already
it
6
out.
minutes into the show, and we're just talking away here. Let's see what Kat has in mind for our Sky-Fi, high-speed, wireless, kind of high-definition camera stuff. There you
Looking
go.
down from the heights.
The cross camera.
A little breezy out there on the water.
Little breezy.
Ripples.
It's going to be a little breezy today, Steve. Northwest 10 to 20 miles an hour. That cold front, there's a cold front that's still coming through here. Notice we had quite a bit of cloud cover yesterday, just as predicted. We're not going to have a lot of clouds today. We're going to have a few clouds tonight, but for the most part, it's going to be sunny. Oh, and by the way, we have a general idea of what Independence Day will look like next Wednesday when we do the weather forecast. Stay close for that. Camera 2. We take a look-see and we say good morning to the Apple Annie's camera overlooking beautiful Kashmir, Washington.
They're pretty.
Gorgeous area there, just beautiful. The Wenatchee River is on your right. You can see the highway, the hugging, the Wenatchee River. You can see Riverside Park. You can see the center, beautiful downtown Kashmir.
And I believe that's Mount Stewart in the background.
It is, Mount Stewart in the background. Good morning, Kashmir. Thanks for starting your day with us here on the NCW Life Channel. Camera
River's looking pretty good, isn't it?
What's that?
River. The Wenatchee River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
full of water, I'm told.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camera 3. Hello and good morning to, well, that's
Rondo Rock.
That's the Rondo Rock camera pointed right at Turtle Rock. Turtle Rock, I believe, is owned entirely by the Chelan County Public Utility District, is it not?
They have some facilities out there.
Yeah. So a lot of people go out there and hang around the beach because it's kind of isolated. You know, the only way you can get there is by boat.
A lot of water skiing out there, that's for sure.
So good morning to Turtle Rock. We are the number 3 rated morning show in Turtle Rock. And camera 4.
Is
Oh, Jump
looking
Off
down
Ridge.
from
That's
Jump
a
Off
great-
Ridge.
That's a great camera, isn't it?
I like it.
You can see the East Wenatchee Bench almost in its entirety. A great view of Birch Mountain and the valley to that's just gorgeous. That's just a beautiful view.
And there's my little town on the right.
That's right.
East
and
Wenatchee.
my little town on the left.
We like to call that the view side of the
Yeah.
river. Yeah.
In my little town. So there you go. That's our views from around the Wenatchee Valley. Let's take a look at your weather forecast from the National Weather Service. Again, as we mentioned, oh, nice job, Kat, with the Statue of Liberty. Look at that.
I love it. Oh,
Isn't
that's
that
right.
cool?
Wednesday next week.
She's working out great. You owe her an apology. She's been phenomenal coworker. That's your forecast. All of these temperatures below normal. Yesterday's high was 80. Normally we're at 81. By the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, our normal high temperature bumps up to 82 and 83. So even though it's going to warm up a little bit for the weekend, that's still below normal. Sunshine today, 74. Our high breezy, northwest wind about 10 to 20 miles an hour, gusts near 30 at times, Steve. Tonight, mostly cloudy, 56, a little breezy, so we still have another system that's going to come through. Again, just kind of unsettled weather. Friday, no wind at all, lots of sunshine, 77, great way to start out your weekend. And we want to jump ahead to Independence Day, Wednesday, partly sunny and 77. Last year for Independence Day, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was just hot. And look at that Tuesday. We could actually see a raindrop.
That's amazing.
Yeah, outside of that wild thunderstorm that came in early Monday morning, we haven't had a lot of rain. It's been dry. So, the big story.
Let's keep it going all summer.
Yeah, this is just about perfect.
I think so.
I wouldn't mind a couple of stretches of fairly hot weather. I wouldn't mind that.
I equate hot weather with wildfires, and
I know,
I'll tell you
I
what, if we can
under-
just
I
keep it the
understand
way
that.
it is, that's just right.
I understand
And
that.
I'm sure the cherry growers like this weather.
Yeah, this has got to be pretty much close to perfect.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. So there you go. The forecast is in the books. We'll take a quick little 1-minute break. When we come back, Steve Hare has the news. Our top 2 stories, wildfires on this June 28th. The news with Steve Hare is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Live this morning from Studio 2 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life Channel.
RLS Productions presents Concerts in the Gardens held at Omi Gardens this coming summer, featuring the Infinity Project, a Journey tribute band, Too Slim and the Tail Draggers, the Wenatchee Swingin' Big Band, the Peter Rivera Band, and Invisible Touch, a Phil Collins tribute band. The objectives of the series are to increase midweek tourism to the Wenatchee Valley, the development of a world-class series overlooking the Wenatchee Valley, along with awarding annual scholarships to Wenatchee Valley College students. RLS Productions would like to thank their supporters and volunteers for helping make this all possible.
What's your Automocha emergency?
It's a Frappuccino mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely the espresso shakes.
My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull.
And now it's time for your local news update with Steve Hare.
Here we go on a Thursday, the 28th day of June, and here's some of the stories we're following around north central Washington today. Well, we've heard of forest fires, brush fires, and now we have a wetlands fire. Well, it just tells you about the weather right now. Manson firefighters responded yesterday afternoon to the scene of a fire. It was located in the reed beds on the northwest shore of Dry Lake. Here you can see a picture of it provided to us by the Manson Volunteer Fire Department. Officials say it was difficult to access and presented some challenges that are really not common with other types of fires. It was a slow process to put this one out. Now here's a video that was posted last night on the Lake Chelan Now Facebook page. We'll credit Susan Thiessen Mendoza for sharing this video of the fire last night. At last report around 11 o'clock, it was reported that crews were getting the upper hand, but they remained on scene overnight. No reports of any threats to structures there, and the fire's cause was not disclosed. Well, to the south of us this morning in Benton County, state fire assistance has been mobilized in support of local firefighters working to contain the so-called Montecito fire. Now, the large brush fire located near Prosser, the Montecito fire started last night. It spread to over 2,500 acres. And that fire poses a threat to nearby homes, crops, and infrastructure. Level 2 evacuation notices have been issued by the Benton County Sheriff's Office, again in the Prosser area. The cause of that fire is under investigation. Also, from yesterday, fortunately, the Grant County Sheriff's Office reports nobody hurt in a structure fire Wednesday in Moses Lake. The fire burned several outbuildings on the property located on Airway Drive Northeast. The property, a local landmark known as the Castle House. No power going to the home, and a generator was being used for electricity. It appears the fire started on the northeast side of that structure. The crews were able to protect nearby properties, and no other homes were damaged. Grant County Fire District 5 and the Moses Lake Fire Department responded to the fire that ignited around 7:15 in the morning. No word yet on the official cause. That's still under investigation. Meanwhile, Central Washington is experiencing an upturn in the economy as it relates to job growth and wages. 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse commented on it yesterday from the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today proud to share a snapshot of rising wages, more jobs, and increasing opportunity in the 4th Congressional District of Washington, which I have the distinct pleasure of representing. In the city of Yakima, unemployment is at 5.5% as reported in April by the Washington Employment Security Department, and that number is reportedly the lowest it has been for that month since electronic recording began in 1990. Yakima County is the most populous county in central Washington and had a May unemployment rate at 6.0%, which is the lowest rate in decades. In another major population center in Washington, the Tri-Cities, unemployment was at 5.2% in May. Wages in the Tri-Cities area are up 3.8% over 2017 and are among the fastest growing in the state. The latest jobs report showed a decreasing unemployment rates across my district in every single county, with Okanagan at 6.3%, Grant 6.1%, Franklin 5.5%, Douglas at 5.2%, Benton at New jobs in construction, food manufacturing, and professional business services are largely driving the regional growth in the labor force. These numbers are more than just statistics, Mr. Speaker. Increasing employment opportunities means families can provide a more secure future for their children.
That was yesterday on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives with Congressman Dan Newhouse. The rising job market appears to be across the board in all non-farm sectors. Central Washington's regional economist Don Messick highlighted that point in an interview on NCW Life channel yesterday.
But I think in a nutshell, the unemployment rate is at historic lows. I look for it to continue, maybe up a tick, down a tick. Non-farm growth is particularly robust, and I look for that to continue up to the next few months. What industries are driving it? Construction, leisure and hospitality, health services, local government right now are the drivers for the local economy.
By the way, I want to stay tuned to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley Messick status report on Central Washington, and the job market will be aired in its entirety coming up later in the program. Also, Washington State's ag industry can't be very happy about the latest failure of Congress to come together on immigration reform. Following 2 delays, the Republican compromise immigration bill failed Wednesday in the U.S. House of Representatives. NCW Life's Grant Olson has more on that story.
The Border Security and Immigration Reform Act, negotiated by both moderates and conservatives amid pressure for Congress to finally provide a legislative fix to the country's immigration problems, failed by a large margin of 121 yes votes to 301 no votes on Wednesday. Washington's 4th District Representative Dan Newhouse says he co-sponsored H.R. 6136 and voted in favor of it yesterday because this legislation presented the best opportunity to make substantial improvements to our broken immigration system and address the situation facing families at the southern border.
This was a great bill, but in the end, I don't know exactly the motivation for it. I can't speak for every single member, but I do know in my legislative career, it's always easy to find something wrong with any bill that's in front of you. And certainly on an issue like immigration, there's going to be things that you don't like. That's a given. But in the end, I believe that this bill moved us to a better place than what we are today. And it moved the issue forward so that we could move it to the Senate and continue the conversation there too, and continue improving it. But that wasn't the case today. It did not pass, and we have our work to do to come up with what I think will have to be in the end a bipartisan bill in order to be successful.
Newhouse added that the House has yet to address the crisis facing agriculture producers who cannot find enough workers, and he won't stop advocating for improvements to create a reliable, legal guest worker system. Grant Olson, NCW Life News.
And speaking of immigration, there was a citizenship ceremony yesterday at Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee where over 100 new American citizens took their oath of allegiance. So congratulations to our new citizens of the United States. Also, a very special flame burned brightly through the streets of Wenatchee yesterday afternoon. Eric Grandstrom and Megan McPherson were at the Centennial Park to capture the flame of hope.
Let's hear it again for the torch relay run of folks, both athletes and law enforcement from across the country and around the world. Here in Washington, this is the final leg of the USA Games torch.
On behalf of the city, I'd like to thank some of the city team that are here, Carol, Andre, and the rest of our city team that put so much time into Special Olympics for the Winter Games and are here today as well. I learned today that Special Olympics serves 5 million people in over 170 countries. Pretty remarkable that what Special Olympics does for our athletes.
You, the Flame, and the team have been on a long and exacting journey through our great state of Washington. And wherever you have gone, you have put Special Olympics on the map. And you've raised funds so Special Olympic athletes can reach for the gold. You've also given a good picture of what this relationship is between law enforcement and the Special Olympics.
I was at the top of my game physically and athletically just 2 years ago. That all changed when I broke my foot playing soccer. It was a very hard setback. I've had 3 surgeries, and I'm fighting to get back to where I was. It is a daily struggle to stay positive, but I know I am a leader on my Special Olympics team and in my life, and I won't give up on myself.
As guardians, our Special Olympic athletes have our word that no matter where God takes them in their journey in life, we will always have their back and make sure that the flame of hope will never go out. So who are we, you may ask? We are the Torch Run. We are the Torch Run. The mighty, mighty Torch Run. The mighty, mighty Torch Run. Thank you. About 13 years ago, I started getting involved with the Special Olympics here locally in our community. Here about a year ago, they started taking selections for what they call the final leg run. And what that is they select one officer from each state to represent the state as they carry the torch throughout the state to the opening ceremonies of the game. So this year being in Seattle, stuck my name in the hat. Wasn't expecting I was going to get it, but you know what? Good things happen.
I know you're off to Leavenworth next, but then the trek continues for the next few days before you get to the opening ceremonies on Sunday.
Correct. For the next 3 days, it's going to be nothing but running and gunning through all different sites over on the west side of the states, and then leads up to the final ceremony in UW Stadium on Sunday.
Well, Brandon, thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
You bet. There you go. Brandon Johnson here with the Olympic Torch Run. The Flame of Hope coming through Wenatchee on its way to Husky Stadium in Seattle this Sunday to start the USA Games.
And again, the USA Summer Olympics, Special Olympics this weekend in Seattle. Should be a lot of fun.
Big event.
You had an interesting interview recently with folks from CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Group, and they've got a big event coming up that I know that we want to share with our viewers right now. You were talking with Kenzie English. He's a CASA volunteer coordinator who joined us on a recent Wake Up Wenatchee Valley program promoting that event.
It starts with an application, and then we interview you, and it's different than maybe a job interview or a normal volunteer interview, because this is a really tough job. It's emotionally draining, it can be physically draining, mentally draining, and so we want to make sure that you're ready for this position. And then if you're accepted to take the training, that's when it kind of all starts flowing. And it's a 34-hour training and then 4 hours of courtroom observation, just so you can get a feel for what goes on in the courtroom, because it is an entirely different world in there. And after that, if you complete the training, you're accepted, you've passed all of the background checks, then you have a final interview with Sue, and she is the one that says, yes, you are accepted as a volunteer, or let's wait a little bit. And once you're accepted, you're sworn in, and most of the time we have a case for you right away.
And again, a wonderful organization, the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program, also known as CASA. Again, they're having an open house information meeting tonight at their offices on Douglas Street in Wenatchee. Next training session, by the way, is set to begin July 16th. You can find out more information by visiting their website, the CASA organization. Really good people.
Great people do very important work.
Absolutely.
But they really, Arlene Grover was the other lovely young lady you saw from the interview from earlier in the week, and very passionate about their work. And but Arlene says it needs to be done. But I asked her specifically. I mean, is it tough not to take this kind of work home with you? I mean, it must be emotionally draining.
Yeah.
You know, are you
cannot
able to
separate yourself?
Can you make the wall? And she goes, it's hard, but she goes, the rewards makes it all worthwhile. When a kid gets through the system and everything, the ship is righted and they're down the road with good things.
We have quite a few stories about CASA on our website at ncwlife.com, so check it out.
Speaking of our website, check it out all the time. Bookmark it. Make it your homepage. It's my homepage.
Yeah.
ncwlife.com. ncwlife.com. We populate it on a regular basis throughout the course of the day. Check by and see what's going on. You have to put aside a little bit of time because there's a lot of stuff there. You can watch shows on demand. You can submit news stories to us. You can contact us. ncwlife.com is our website. We also have a Facebook page, and we'd love to hear from you, our viewers. You don't forget the rules. We'd love to hear from you so long as it's unqualified praise. Steve, do the honors.
Yeah, that's right. We're always looking for news stories, folks, so if you have some ideas or suggestions, contact us any number of ways. by email at our address at news@ncwlife.com, on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Also contact us on our web page, on our Contact Us tab at the top of the page there at ncwlife.com. And as always, our breaking news hotline available to you at 888-6295.
He did it!
I got it right. Woohoo! Okay, folks, let's get it on. Thursday morning news.
One day in a row, got number correct.
I did it.
Good, I wrote it down. 60 degrees, fair skies, sunny, a little breezy, chilly. High today of only 77. 1 minute break, and sports is next. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
It's a free walk-in job search assistance center. It is designed to help job seekers with the tools that they need to find a job. We have partnered with libraries in 5 other cities, providing the same types of services that we offer here, just there.
Just walk in, we have laptops, and we can help you with resume, cover letter.
All of our services are paid for by the revenues earned in our store. Goodwill is just a tool that the community is using to help their neighbors find a job. Goodwill, there's more behind the store.
I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCW Life channel.
I'm Eric Grandstrom with NCW Life Sports.
I'm NCW Life News Director Steve Hare.
Catch us on LocalTel Channel 12.
You can watch us on Charter Channel 19 or stream us live on ncwlife.com.
Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
Where we cover the local high schools, the Wenatchee Wild, and the pro teams out of Seattle.
On Saturday, we have a 90% chance of rain.
Catch it all right here on the NCW Life channel.
And we're back. Sports on this Thursday morning. What a night at the old ball yard for Corey Meyer. Thank goodness Corey Meyer plays for the Apple Sox. 2 Grand Slam home runs. He accounted for a bunch of the runs, and they scored a bunch of runs. They knocked off the Bend Elks. The final was 13-2. Meyer's first Grand Slam came at the bottom of the 3rd on the first pitch he saw from Drew Zamuda, the starting pitcher for the Elks. Then in the 8th, he stepped up with the sacks full again, this time facing Sam Boone. Now, we don't have the video. The video went down, but we do have the audio with the call for the second Grand Slam. Here's the voice of the Apple Sox, Joel Norman.
Prior to Sunday, you really think about it, they'd hit 3 on the year, and they've hit 4 home runs in the 2 of the last 3 games. This one's hit hard to left field. Did he do it again? Did he do it again? Corey Meyer with his second Grand Slam of the game. Holy cow, 8 RBIs. Corey Meyer goes deep again.
Corey Meyer, you better take a bow, buddy.
He's going to get a curtain call for this one. The whole dugout is out of the third base dugout. 13-2, Apple Sox. Second Grand Slam of the game for Meyer.
Nice call, Joel Norman from the Apple Sox Radio Network. Jake Taylor, by the way, also hit a home run last night. It was a solo shot of the second. Wenatchee is now 8-11 on the season with the win. The teams played their rubber match of the 3-game series tonight, 7:05. Michael Spalacy will toe the rubber for the Apple Sox. Mikey Hooper will pitch for Bend. Elsewhere in the West Coast League, the Les Schwab scoreboard is up for you to see. Corvallis defeated Portland 9-4. Walla Walla held off a late rally from Victoria. Ended up victorious 9-7 over the Harbor Cats. Let's see here. Seth Rayburn had 3 relievers, held Yakima Valley to a 5-hit shutout in Cowlitz's 2-0 win. That was at County Stadium. Trent Tingelstad went 4 for 5. Kelowna knocked off Port Angeles. The final was 12-6. And Zach Needham and Corey Pasek both went deep. Bellingham won a non-league game over Highline 8-1. Tonight, West Coast League play, your schedule. Portland wraps up their series at Corvallis. Kelowna takes on Port Angeles, and Cowlitz will take on Yakima Valley. Kyle Seeger's 2-run home run in the 9th tied it. Denard Spann sacrificed fly in the 11th won it. And the Mariners beat Baltimore 8-7 last night in extra innings. Seattle tied the Yankees now for the most come-from-behind wins this year. They have 23. Seager's heroics in the 9th were necessary because Baltimore's Chris Davis in the 8th inning just crushed the baseball way out of the field. And that gave the Orioles a 7-5 lead, but they came back. Chasen Bradford worked a perfect 10th to get the win. They improved to 5-0 on the season. Edwin Diaz picked up his 30th save in the 11th. Seattle wins their 50th game of the year. Manager Scott Service says this Mariner team never gives up, no matter what the situation is or how late the game is.
We've had some great wins this year.
we've done a lot of this at home. To do this on the road, after getting the big home run up, in the 8th inning there, to come back, it's how we're wired. We play all 27 outs. Guys don't quit. We figure out to find a way, and great night by Kyle Seager. He put a great swing on the ball off Britton. Exactly what we needed at that moment. But we had a lot of good offensive performances tonight. Siegs was on, Segura again. Knark's band, quality at bats, Haniger, big night, go up and down the lineup. Guys really doing their job. But it takes a lot of guts, a lot of fight to not just cave in there after they put the big home run on us in the end.
Kyle Seager's got a hot bat. He finished 3 for 6 on the night, couple of runs, 2 RBIs. Mitch Haniger had 3 hits and 6 plate appearances. Gene Segura, 2 for 6 with 3 runs scored, including, of course, the game winner. Seattle and Baltimore finished the 4-game series today. It is a matinee, 12:05 first pitch. Mike Leake pitches for the M's. Looked like Seattle would gain ground on Houston with their victory yesterday, but that was not the case. The Les Schwab scoreboard for you to peruse. The Astros fell behind 5 runs in the first inning, but they came all the way back and they beat Toronto 7-6. Boston scored 6 in the second inning, held on to beat Los Angeles 9-6. Oakland held Detroit to just 3 hits. The Tigers are not very good. Oakland shut out Detroit. And Mike Minor retired the first 19 batters he faced. Texas victorious 5-2 yesterday. And that's sports at 31 minutes after the hour. The obscure holiday of the day today. Today is Paul Bunyan Day. The legend of Paul Bunyan and his babe, the Blue Ox. The Blue Ox, Babe the Blue Ox. Gigantic lumberjack of American folklore, probably Canadian in origin. Of course, Paul Bunyan is credited with creating logging in the United States. It's a great childhood book. The Tall Tales of Paul Bunyan is really a must-read for most kids. Why is Paul Bunyan Day celebrated on June 28th? We don't know, but you got to pick a day. There you go. Happy Paul Bunyan Day. Today in history. 28th day of June. 104 years ago today, the war to end all wars began. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife Sophie assassinated in Sarajevo. It is the cause of World War I. World War I essentially began on this date, June 28, 1914, and exactly 5 years later, World War I ended with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, when Germany and the Allies said, okay, we're done. The peace treaty was signed exactly 5 years to the day after the war began. The war to end all wars ended on this date 99 years ago today. Of course, it turns out it wasn't the war to end all wars. Happy birthday to Mercedes-Benz, 92 years old today. There's the iconic logo. Gottlieb Daimler and Carl Benz merged their 2 auto companies to form Mercedes-Benz. Their logo then and their logo now, the best or nothing. One of these days, I'm going to, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? One of these days, it'll happen. Happy birthday to Fort Knox. 83 years ago today, June 28, 1935, Franklin Delano Roosevelt orders the Treasury Department to construct Fort Knox to store all the gold that we had. As of April of last year, Fort Knox has 4,582 metric tons. So I looked this up this morning at the rate of $1,226 an ounce. Fort Knox has $180 billion in gold in it. During World War II, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were stored at Fort Knox, just in case. Not a bad idea. No visitors are allowed inside the grounds of Fort Knox, except one time. There was a rumor back in 1974 that there was actually nothing in Fort Knox. It was just a rumor, but it wouldn't go away. And on September 23, 1974, people got to tour for the one and only time Fort Knox. Turns out it has gold. So we got rid of that little rumor. Happy birthday to Fort Knox. And finally, what do we got? Birthdays. Mel Brooks is 92 years old today. There is Mel, Get Smart, The Producers, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, High Anxiety, Silent Movie, Spaceballs, funny guy. Mel Brooks, 92 years old today. Kathy Bates is 70 years old today. The movie Misery. Wow, that blew me away. She was also in Fried Green Tomatoes, Titanic, of course, very talented actress. Kathy Bates, 70 years old today. John Elway, a lot of people consider him the greatest quarterback of all time. John Elway, by the way, was born in Port Angeles. He has Northwest roots. John Elway, 62 years old today. And John Cusack, the American actor and screenwriter, Say Anything, Being John Malkovich, and of course the movie 2012. John Cusack is 42 years old today. Going to take a quick break. Everybody is entitled to Matt Manotti's opinion, and then Steve Hare's conversation with Don Messick, our regional labor economist. Good news from Don. You don't want to miss that. All coming up between now and 8 o'clock. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Hey guys, Megan here with the NCW Life channel. We're here with Renee Parkins, the Development Officer of the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society, and also joining us is Bootsy. Can you tell us about Bootsy?
I can. Bootsy is a 12-year-old male. He is just really sweet, but he definitely is a cat in the sense that he likes to be in your lap and be petted, but on his terms. He's very soft. He's very sweet. He loves treats. That's what I found out today. But yeah, he's a great guy, and he's just waiting for his forever home.
And how is Bootsy with other animals and small children?
Bootsy would be much better suited for an only cat home. He has a pretty strong personality, so it's going to work best if he's the only one. And just because he's a little finicky, he's probably better off with no small children at home.
If someone wanted to adopt Bootsy, what should they do?
They could just come down and meet him. We have some great get acquainted rooms. You could take Bootsy in there, kind of get him out of the other noise and away from the other cats and really see if he's a good fit for you. His adoption fee is only $75 because he is an adult cat that did get neutered, and he's ready to go home today, so come down and meet him.
Great. The Wenatchee Valley Humane Society is located at 1474 South Wenatchee Avenue and is open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Give them a call at 509-662-9577 or visit their website at wenatcheehumane.org. This has been Kennel Cameos at the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society.
I have a doctor who knows what they're talking about.
It's just so much more hands-on and friendly than anywhere else I've ever been.
It's really great to walk into somewhere where you feel welcomed and you feel accepted.
We've just been grateful for the care and respect that we've been given there.
And here when I come to visit my doctor, I'm not afraid to ask questions.
It's not just about getting you in and out.
I love my care at CVCH. It's awesome. Give it a try. This is Mike, Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, gentlemen, you know what your wives and your girlfriends often complain about? You, their hubbies or their boyfriends, and how you gawk at other women when you're with them. Now, what's wrong with you? Show some respect. Look, men like to look at eye candy every once in a while. I know that. But you think it's not a big deal, but to do it blatantly when you're with your woman is really derogatory to your relationship. Now, the technical scientific words for openly gawking at women when you're with your wife or your significant other is stupid. So don't do it. Now, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Vominos junk haulers are pleased to announce they've added moving services to their list of ways to make your life easier. Vominos Moving Service. No move is too big or small. In fact, Vominos does it all. Vominos employees are experienced at moving your home, office, business, and storage. They'll carefully load and unload your belongings. And for the do-it-yourselfers, Vominos also rents trucks and cargo trailers. Call Vominos Junk Haulers and Moving Service today to schedule your free estimate.
Boating is a great way to bring family and friends together. At Bobfile Boats and Motors, they have the boats for any lifestyle: fishing, wakeboarding, or just relaxing on the water. Buying a new boat is more affordable than you might think at Bobfile Boats and Motors. Online at bobfile.com or on Sunset Highway in East Wenatchee.
Bobfile Boats and Motors, we're dealing. Bobfile's gonna make you smile.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Steve Hare. Joining me for our interview segment today, Don Messick, who is our regional economist for Central Washington, and he's here to share with us the latest labor market numbers and statistics from the Employment Security Department of Washington State. But as a means of setting the stage for our interview, we thought we'd share with you some comments, testimony that was made on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives by 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse, sharing with those assembled in the House the good economic news that we have to share here in Central Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today proud to share a snapshot of rising wages, more jobs, and increasing opportunity in the 4th Congressional District of Washington, which I have the distinct pleasure of representing. In the city of Yakima, unemployment is at 5.5% as reported in April by the Washington Employment Security Department. And that number is reportedly the lowest it has been for that month since electronic recording began in 1990. Yakima County is the most populous county in Central Washington and had a May unemployment rate at 6.0%, which is the lowest rate in decades. In another major population center in Washington, the Tri-Cities, unemployment was at 5.2% in May. Wages in the Tri-Cities area are up 3.8% over 2017 and are among the fastest growing in the state. The latest jobs report showed a decreasing unemployment rates across my district in every single county, with Okanagan at 6.3%, Grant 6.1%, Franklin 5.5%, Douglas at 5.2%, Benton at 5.1%, Adams at 4.8%, and Walla Walla at 4.3%. New jobs in construction, food manufacturing, and professional business services are largely driving the regional growth in the labor force. These numbers are more than just statistics, Mr. Speaker. Increasing employment opportunities means families can provide a more secure future for their children.
And again, those were comments made by House Representative Dan Newhouse on the floor of the U.S. House on Wednesday. Joining me in the studio now is Don Messick, our regional economist for Central Washington. Good morning, Don.
Good morning. Thanks for asking me to come here today.
Always a pleasure to get you in here to talk about jobs and wages and really economic growth, I guess, which is really the picture that we're painting here for Central Washington right now. Pretty good news.
It is. Yeah, we've got much more good than bad economic news to report.
Obviously, and you saw the same video here that I did with Representative Newhouse extolling the virtues of living in Central Washington, and right. Certainly some good labor market news there. But yes. You're here to share some more numbers with us. So what is your analysis of what's going on right now here in your region?
Well, I think there's two major pieces of news, I think. One is that the unemployment rate has dropped this May, 0.4 of a point from what it was in May of 2017. So the unemployment rate here in the Chelan and Douglas counties area, which we call the Wenatchee MSA, is dropping year over year. That's certainly a good trend. And the second is our non-farm growth has been fairly robust. We're up about 4.2% this May compared to May of 2017. That's we have about 1,900 more non-farm jobs. So you put that together, a declining unemployment rate and a rising non-farm growth rate, and it's definitely good economic news.
Definitely for a region that is ag dependent. Certainly it's dominated our labor market for years, but the news that the non-farm sector is starting to see some growth is good news.
It is. It is. And you know, I think and the unemployment rate also is dropping. It's dropping for the right reasons. You know, we have about 426 more residents in the two-county area in the labor force this May than in May of 2017. We have about 195 fewer residents out of work, too, between the Mays of 2017 and 2018. So basically what's happening, what's pushing the unemployment rate down, is we have expanding labor force and a decreasing number of unemployed. So the labor force news is definitely good this May. That is the Mays of 2017 2018.
Now, you really crunched the numbers for what, 6 counties in Central Washington?
7 counties.
7
here.
counties in Central
I
Washington.
serve Adams, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Kittitas, Okanagan, and Yakima.
Are you seeing similar kind of trends in all of those counties, or?
Yes, generally we're seeing some pretty good economic news. Okanagan County is probably the one outlier. They lost one of their major manufacturers last year, and actually their unemployment rate rose a bit between 2016 and 2017, but I think it's starting to rebound. So, but most of the news in most counties that I serve is good.
Good news. I know that we're very much interested in finding out what's going on in Chelan and Douglas County. In fact, you have a graph that we've pulled up here for you.
I have lots of graphs.
I know. You thrive on graphs. But the one that really caught my eye was these numbers coming out of the Wenatchee labor market, which includes Chelan and Douglas County, which is seeing some tremendous growth. I mean, record growth.
It is, and in fact, this graph that's up here is kind of a summary graph, Steve. It's looking at non-farm growth rates and comparing the job growth rates in the last 12 months in the Wenatchee MSA and across the state. And I think the interesting thing is you can see that our non-farm growth is not tapering off. Conversely, it's increasing. And in fact, for the last 5 months, the non-farm growth rates in the Wenatchee MSA have been more robust than corresponding growth rates statewide.
It's interesting. So we are really kind of an area that's on the move?
It is. It's good economic news.
Well, you know, it's really kind of interesting too, and kind of a contradiction, because I know over the past few years we've been talking about you know, the situation with Alcoa curtailing its operation at the Wenatchee smelter, laying off in excess of 400 jobs.
Correct.
But apparently we're recovering well from that.
Well, we are, and that's maybe the one downside. Our manufacturing employment is still not that healthy. We're down about 100 manufacturing jobs this year compared to May of last year. So I can't say all the news in every industry is great. Manufacturing specifically is one that's still struggling. But we have enough other strengths in our economy to kind of offset that. And that's one of the reasons our non-farm growth rate has been so robust here lately.
What are you looking at in terms of growth rates for like the hospitality, service sector jobs? We're seeing a tremendous increase in development of new hotel properties here in the Wenatchee Valley, and I would imagine that bodes well for the future.
It does, Steve. Yeah, the leisure and hospitality, when we say that, it's primarily we're talking hotels and restaurants. And our growth rates, again, in leisure and hospitality have been excellent the last several months. We had a little down period in the autumn of last year where some of the fires and the smoke drifting in from BC kept people out of the area, but we have since rebounded. And in fact, the last several months, our leisure and hospitality growth rates have been even better than the state's. So that's been a growth industry. Specifically, we have about 200 more leisure and hospitality jobs in the 2-county area this May than in May of 2017. In raw data, we had about 6,600 jobs. In May of 2017, we have about 6,800 now. So it's a 200 job, 3% increase.
You know, Don Messick is our regional economist for Central Washington. I'm always kind of reluctant to ask you any questions that have to do with cause and effect. Your analysis is pretty much constrained to just the numbers, correct?
Correct. We're just like the old show Dragnet, just the facts.
So do the numbers tell us anything in terms of what we're looking at in the future, and especially with non-farm?
Well, I think one thing is, you know, the non-farm growth rates countywide or here in the MSA, Wenatchee Metropolitan Statistical Area, statewide, they don't usually change like that. They don't change, barring unforeseen events, obviously, greatly from one month to the next. And it's safe to say that when we looked at the non-farm growth rates earlier, that our growth rates the last 5 months or so have been more robust in the state. I look for that probably to continue into the next 2-3 months. Beyond that, my crystal ball gets pretty foggy.
Well, I was going to ask if you see any warning signs out there for problems down the pike.
Well, no, I think, we
except
look at...
except for the manufacturing sector.
Yeah, the manufacturing sector is sluggish, but our construction growth rates here have been particularly robust. We're up about 300 construction jobs this May compared to May of 2017. We're up about 400 health services jobs. Local government's also up a couple hundred jobs. So almost every major industry, Steve's looking pretty good. So how do I think we're going to fare at least into the next quarter? I think reasonably well. The only downside is I think the unemployment rate. Our unemployment rate was 4.9% this May. That's the lowest rate we've had in recent recorded history since our agency started to compile data electronically in 1990. So 28 years, that's the lowest rate we've had for May in 28 years. Certainly good news. How long can it continue? Well, it can't continue to drop forever. And I think eventually we have a term we call transitional unemployment. And I think we're hitting that level now where
the correction mode.
Where eventually we're going to start to see, stabilization and perhaps rising rates because we're at such historically low rates.
Other than just the seasonal situation that we have. Do you track wage?
We do, but our wage data is mostly historical, and I'd be glad to report that another time. We can look at not only annual average wages, we can look at and report on wages by industry.
Can you speak to that anecdotally in terms of?
Not at this point.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Because I was just curious to see if the wages are keeping up with the job growth.
The wages, I think, generally statewide are faring reasonably well. I'd have to look at the county's data, but the good news is, Steve, I can go down to what we call the sector and subsector level and actually report. I can report, however, on one industry that I have done some analysis on, annual average 2017, and that's agriculture, because we do get historical information on ag. And what it shows in a nutshell over the last 10 years is that both in Chelan County and Douglas County, our non-farm employment, our agricultural employment has started to taper off a bit in the last during the last 10 years, especially the last couple years.
You mean tapered off in terms of the number of jobs?
In terms of the number of jobs.
Okay.
However, the payroll has increased. In fact, in Douglas County, we're up about 3 percentage points in terms of total payroll in agriculture in 2017 versus 2007. In Chelan, it's, I think, about 1.9 percentage points.
What do you read into that? Yeah.
Well, I think what it tells me is that although the total number of agricultural jobs has started to taper off the last year or two, the payroll has been rising. That is, I think people are working, agricultural workers are working more hours. We're seeing more sharing of labor. We're seeing probably some rising wages. So, and when I speak of this 3 percentage point increase in Douglas County specifically, I'm comparing that to total covered wages. So you look at all the payroll in Douglas County, all the payroll in Chelan County, and agriculture from a wage perspective, a payroll perspective, is becoming relatively more important, a larger footprint.
That's interesting. I know we also have a lot of viewers in the Grant County area, which has seen a tremendous increase in the digital industry. Has that translated into, let's say, higher wages or new job growth in Grant County?
Yeah, many of the wages, of course, in that industry are quite good. The catch is in raw data, there's not a tremendous number of jobs. So it is good news. You're speaking specifically, I assume, of server farms, and definitely good news. And of course, it increases the tax base and so on. There's many positive spin-offs. But in terms of the total number of jobs, it's not a huge player. So, but are the wages going up in that information industry? Yes. Is it good economic news? Yes.
Don Messick, our Central Washington regional economist, joining us on NCW Live Channel. In the past, I know we've talked about your chronicling what's happening on the labor front. Now, in the past, I know you've also talked about you don't distinguish between full-time and part-time jobs.
Correct.
And that's kind of important when you're crunching the numbers.
It is, and there's that's one limitation of our data, not just here in the Wenatchee MSA, it's every county in the state and every state in the union. But I think that we do not differentiate between a full versus a part-time job. So leisure and hospitality, for example, that's an industry where there's a high percentage of jobs.
Can that skew, though, the numbers in some way? Especially when you're talking about wages and that type of thing.
Yeah, it can a bit. And part-time jobs can skew the data. Agriculture, the seasonal, can skew the data. So that is one limitation. But the advantage is, you know, you look at time series, and those industries have pretty much always been like that. Mm-hmm. So for time series analysis, this the two main data sets we use, the quarterly census of employment and wage data and the CES, the current employment statistics data with non-farm data, for time series are pretty, I would say, fairly reliable.
Yeah, yeah. So any idea of what we're looking at in terms of June numbers yet, or is that too early? Or how's it tracking?
You know, again, I don't have a crystal ball on that, but I can say I think whether or not the unemployment rate will still be lower in June of 18 versus June of 17, I don't know. You know, we could be up a tick or down a tick, that I don't know. In terms of non-farm growth rates, we had a substantial, 4.2% growth rate. I look for that to continue, and that growth rate, again, is more robust than the state's growth rate. Yeah. So I think we're still going to see non-farm growing at a pace at or better than the state, at least for the next quarter.
Well, Don, I'm going to give you the last word here. Is there anything that you'd like to add that we missed here in our interview that you'd like to expand upon?
No, you know your work, sir. You've hit the high points. But I think in a nutshell, the unemployment rate is at historic lows. I look for it to continue, maybe up a tick, down a tick. Non-farm growth is particularly robust, and I look for that to continue up to the next few months. What industries are driving it? Construction, leisure and hospitality, health services, local government right now are the drivers for the local economy.
Good deal. And we'll stand, it's still unknown how the federal government and all the different things that are happening in Congress right now are going to affect us, and for that matter,
that's true.
The administration's threats of tariffs on foreign exports could also be a problem for our local economy as well.
Well, we have a little caveat. We always say, barring unforeseen events.
There you go. There you go. Well, Don Messick, our regional economist for Central Washington, joining us this morning. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you, sir.
Steve Hare, NCW Life News.
Papa Murphy's presents a fresh take on fresh. Here's the deal. If it comes from a freezer, not fresh. Box, not fresh. Bag, not fresh. Fresh means just chopped vegetables. Cheese grated by us daily. Fresh means we don't even have ovens, because you have an oven. So you can feel good about feeding it to your... Home bake a large Gourmet Delight Greek pepperoni pizza, topped with pepperoni, spinach, black olives, and feta cheese. Just $9. Papa Murphy's. Love at 425 degrees.
And we are back with just a couple of minutes left on this Thursday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Dan Kuntz and Steve Hare back live here from Studio 7, we'll say. Douglas County Sheriff Harvey Jesdahl hanging up the spurs at the end of the month, and they're having a wing ding for him, Steve.
That's right. They're having a little reception for him this afternoon, as a matter of fact, in East Wenatchee at the Douglas County Transportation and Land Services offices there at 140 19th Street Northeast. And again, it starts at 4 o'clock this afternoon, but again, they're bidding goodbye to Sheriff Harvey Jesdahl.
Who's been very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ran unopposed for the last 2 election cycles, and that's usually a pretty good sign.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
he's a good working partner.
Yeah.
Here with
Congratulations to Harvey.
Congratulations.
That's from 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
Yep. You want to be there. At the end of the celebration, they're having a drawing. They're having a drawing, and the winner gets a big garbage bag and 60 seconds in the evidence room.
Oh, boy.
Grab whatever they want. I'm kidding. Everybody have yourself a great Thursday. Enjoy this lovely spring weather as we're now 1 week into summer. And don't forget all the news in one tidy little package will come your way at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Don't. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock with Grant Olson with the weather and the news, and Eric Grasser with sports. Don't play with the toys, Steve. Don't play with the toys. Oh. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.